And to join Jagmeet in conversation, someone who I am deeply honored to call a friend, a sister, a #1 New York Times seller, book author and illustrator. Her poetry speaks to us, moves us, and connects us all together. So can we give her a very warm Burnaby, British Columbia welcome to Rupi Kaur.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so sorry that I have my back towards you, but I love you all very much. This is an incredible moment. I've been waiting to have this moment for a very, very long time with my dear friend Jagmeet. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can I just say something? I said this to you backstage.
Yes.
But I've been in the crowd cheering you on, clapping, and like getting super hype anytime you're performing. And to be on stage with you is pretty special.
I'm really honored. Thank you. I mean, maybe I'll save the emotions for the end, but you have sort of led the path for all of us, and it's been incredible. And so I just feel like I feel butterflies because it feels like this has been a long time coming, and I can't believe we're here. So I have some questions for you.
Sure.
How's the crowd feeling? We feeling good? You feeling excited? Amazing. Okay. So you have been traveling across the country, and it must be quite an amazing journey to meet so many different kinds of Canadians. What are some of the moments that you're going to take away from this experience, and what are things that have touched you, and where are the places that have spoken to you?
Well, we live in a really beautiful place. Like, the whole country speaks to me. There's just so much diversity, the land is so beautiful, and the people really believe in taking care of one another. Like, I hear that and I feel that everywhere I go. Like, people care about each other. What really inspired me recently, yesterday I was in Victoria, and there was thousands and thousands of young people who were marching because they were demanding action on the climate crisis. And I was inspired to see kids that were like 6 years old to high school, to university, their passion, their hopes of building a better future inspired me. And I want people to know that I'm in this for them. Like, I don't work for the people at the very top. I don't work for wealthy corporations. I work for people. And the people I meet are my inspiration. They're the people that I want to fight for. And I want to make their futures better.
I feel like you kind of already answered my next question, but maybe then we can dig a little deeper.
Sure.
So one of my greatest joys has been seeing the youth-led activism regarding climate change this year.
Yeah.
Everything that's been happening all week, all year has been incredible, and I feel like we've been waiting this moment for our whole lives. From Indigenous youth who've been advocating for change to the massive crowds across the world, across the country over the last week, what can you do to spur meaningful action on addressing climate change?
I think that's exactly it. We need action. And when we heard young leaders like Greta, like Autumn, from an Indigenous woman from Manitoulin Island in Ontario, they spoke to the United Nations and they demanded action. And they said, how dare you betray us? Because what world leaders are doing, they're betraying young people and their futures. And I see young people who, instead of having a hopeful look towards the future, they're afraid. And I want to say to them that we need more than just empty words, pretty words.
There's a lot of skepticism, I feel like.
There is.
Everybody's always straight up like, they're like, we're going to do this. We're going to plant all the trees and save all the waterfalls. And it's like, okay, but you've been saying that forever and our planet is dying.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
So how do you deal with the skepticism?
Yeah, so the skepticism is based on, it's very obvious. Governments in Ottawa, whether they've been liberal or conservative, have been making decisions that benefit the people at the top. Like Mr. Trudeau met with the energy lobbyists, like oil and gas lobbyists, 1,500 times over the past 4 years. So it's not a surprise that he didn't follow through. Again, I don't work for those guys. work for the people, and I work to make sure that our future is bright. And that's why I would commit right away to ending fossil fuel subsidies. That's billions of dollars that we're spending on fossil fuel companies. We need to stop that immediately. Yeah, and I would invest in clean energy, renewable energy, invest in public transportation, electrify transportation, and then retrofit every home and building so that we reduce our emissions, we create jobs, but we really follow through, because it's far past the time of pretty words and empty promises. We need real action, and that's what I'm committing to.
Amazing. Yeah. It feels like science, and the reality is there isn't a lot of time left. So it's amazing to hear a response like that.
Thank you.
Our devastation of the environment impacts already marginalized communities more than anybody else. We know this. And in your conversations with Canadians impacted by environmental degradation, what are the lessons that you've learned that will shape your policy?
Well, when you're talking about people that are most impacted, in a lot of ways, the first people of this land, Indigenous peoples, are the most impacted, and their traditional knowledge is not being used in the solution. Like, the first people of this land have so much traditional knowledge. They have so many teachings that would help us be better stewards. And I think about places like Grassy Narrows, where it's an Indigenous community surrounded by water, and that water has been poisoned by mercury. And you can look around the land and see this beautiful landscape that's all been poisoned. And First Nations people are saying, hey, we can clean this up. We just need to have the courage to do so. And I want to say to those folks, it's not enough to just say that Indigenous reconciliation is an important thing. We've got to back it up with real action. We've got to go and make sure we clean the land, clean the water, and we support those who know the land the best, those who are connected to the land and are feeling the brunt of it. First Nations are also feeling the impact of losing a lot of species that are vital to their lifestyle, salmon in BC and caribou in the north. These are relationships that are deep between the Indigenous peoples and those ways of life, and they're being endangered, and so they're feeling the impacts. And we've got to work with them to make sure they're at the heart of the solution. They're at the table making decisions to solve the problem.
Side note, also, I wish people just did this every time I spoke. I say something, then the room erupts. It's
applause.
Okay, job switch is coming for me.
Have you ever been to one of your own events? I mean, people applaud you all the time.
I have to be on the stage for 2 hours, and then I get a little bit. All right. So in 2019, this is so sad that I have to ask this question. I want to ask this question, but it's unfortunate that we're still here. Why do you think the right to choose is still an issue and it's being discussed?
It's your right to be. I'm super saddened by that. Like, the fact that it's even a debate, and on top of that, the fact that men have any thought in their mind that they should be having any input on this decision is, to me, just absurd. It's absurd, right? So it is, though. So, this is a question of, it's healthcare between a person and the healthcare professional. And as long as we don't realize that this is a healthcare question, there's no debate in healthcare. People should have the right to have access to abortion services. And it's not enough to just talk about the right. In our country, there are still far too many people that don't have access to the service. So we can talk about the right, but if people can't access a service, it's a really meaningless right. So for me, yeah.
How would we change the...
Yeah, so I was thinking about that, right? We got to change it. So how will we change it? A couple ways. One, we've got a Canada Health Act. And in that act, it says that the transfers, so basically the money that the federal government gives to provinces, is contingent upon the services being public and publicly delivered. And so in many provinces, abortion services are not considered a part of the healthcare system. They're delivered in private clinics that charge fees, and that to me is just wrong. We need to make sure it's accessible. The service is so important.
you have come out and said that what has happened to missing and murdered Indigenous women is a genocide. I agree with you. What would be a policy or initiative that you would undertake regarding this?
I think we just have to take a moment and pause. That inquiry, they found that it was a genocide, and I support, as you do, we support that it was a genocide, of course. I accept their finding. But if you take a minute to think about it, it means that Indigenous women and girls were failed so much by the system that their deaths were a result of massive failures. It wasn't just a by chance. It was almost on purpose, because the system was designed to fail Indigenous women and girls.
The system wasn't built for them.
It wasn't built for them.
Right.
It was built to fail them. And when you think about that means women and girls were stripped from their families, were lost from all of us. Their lives were cut short. There's a lot of pain. And imagine what it would feel like to know that your people were the victims of a genocide right now in 2019 that's still happening. So that should weigh heavy on all of us. And I think it's all of our collective responsibility together to say never again, never again. And if I could just add, and to do that, that means what they recommended is overhauling our justice system, overhauling our police system, overhauling how services are delivered. They called for a pretty widespread overhaul, and it's something that we can do and we must do.
As someone who grew up her entire life around people who visibly wear reflections of their faith, it saddened me to see Amrit Kaur, a dastar-wearing teacher from Quebec, be forced to move to BC in order to follow her dreams of becoming a teacher. What would you say to people like Amrit who are told by the powers that be that they have to choose between their dreams and their faith?
That it's wrong. Like, that's wrong that happens. It is sad. Like, someone like Amrit Kaur, who can offer so much and can give so much back, is being told that she doesn't belong. And I remember what that feels like. I know you remember what that feels like, to be told like we don't belong. I mean, many people in this room have felt that, that you don't belong and that you're not welcome. And people have been discriminated against because of who they are. And now we've got a government saying that it's not just okay, they're saying it's a law to discriminate someone because of who they are. So it's wrong. And what I've been doing is I've been going right to Quebec, into the heart of Quebec, and telling them, I think this is wrong. I think this hurts people. And I want to win over the hearts and minds of people. I want to win over people. And so I'm hoping that me running to become Prime Minister of this country in Quebec, I send a message that we can come together and do so many beautiful things if we work together, if we care for one another.
And I think we have to spread the idea that our differences do bring us together, and our differences do help us belong, and they don't separate us.
Hey.
And
Do we want to... Maybe we should just switch.
no. Okay.
Should I just
I'll quit my job and just come be your little buddy and just cheering you on. Yeah.
No, you should just take over.
Every minute I'm like, yes, more.
I want to be a poet and you be a leader. Let's switch.
Being a poet is like a very sad and lonely existence. You don't want to do it.
If it wasn't for my wife, it would be pretty sad and lonely too.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I wanted
It's
to
so
say
nice to
something
see you,
about
by the way.
Amrit Kaur. I think it blows my mind that you're doing this. And like the fact that you have been able to come so far just goes to show that our differences do bring us together. And so I hope the country can really see that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Every election is an important one, and this year it feels like even more of an important one just because of everything that's happening across the world. There's been rising xenophobia with a slew of far right-wing governments dominating many of the relationships that you'll have to potentially navigate as Prime Minister. What kinds of stories are you hearing from Canadians, and are they worried? how would you deal with them in a way that advocates for the social justice ideal that you have always lived and had?
I think it's true. I think we have to acknowledge that it is true. There is a rise of hate. There is a rise of divisive politics, and it's happening in Canada. We're seeing it around the world, and it is scary. We've got to do a lot more to call out and denounce whenever we see hate, wherever it is. One of the things I always say about hate is that hate is like a fire. If it is based on someone's gender or based on someone's religion or someone's sexuality, once allowed to grow, it'll spread and it'll consume everything. And so we all collectively have to denounce it and stand together to fight it. I also think it's not enough to just denounce it, and we have to do that. But I also think that some of the conditions that allow for hate to grow come back to economic insecurity. And what I mean by that is if someone can't find a house, if they can't afford to pay their bills, if they're struggling in their life, and then someone comes along and says, you know what? You know why you can't find a house or why you can't find a good job? It's because of that new Canadian. It's because of that refugee. It's easier to be exploited when you're worried about your own future. And so I think one of the ways to tackle hate and to tackle the rise of division is to actually build a fairer country, a country where the wealth doesn't go to the few. Yeah. When we build an economy that works better for everyone, not just the few, not just those at the top, then we build a safer society for everyone.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as someone with younger siblings, I have 3 of them.
Yes, I know them.
They're great, but slightly annoying.
They're pretty cute too, though.
They're cute from far. So as someone with younger siblings, my parents and I are increasingly concerned about the increase of violence, especially gun violence in the GTA, here in BC, and other cities across the country. It seems like each week we hear of another tragic passing. How do we work with young people, not against them, but with them, to prevent this?
I think it's an incredibly relevant question to here in BC. Particularly, folks are really worried about this a lot in some of the urban centers, in Toronto as well. So it is a big concern. And the root cause of violence is complex. It's hard to say that I know all the answers to this. It's pretty complex. One of the things we know for certain is we need to make sure we tackle the weapons themselves, making sure they're not available. So we need to make sure if municipalities want to ban handguns, they have the right to do so and the power to do so. I want to make sure that's legislated and they're allowed to. I know we need to crack down on the distribution or the smuggling of guns. It's something really important. But in the root cause of violence from all the experts, it's about social exclusion, when you don't feel like you belong, when you're hopeless, when there's no opportunities, when you feel like a lot of despair. And that's when the roots of violence take hold. And so all the experts are saying we need to invest in young people, make sure there's a bright and hopeful future, make sure housing is affordable, make sure we invest in services. And that's how we can prevent that root cause and build a better society. And so that young people don't have to worry about this.
Definitely. So there's this hopelessness I see from the younger generation about opportunities. I know that I feel this, my siblings feel this, my friends feel it. I mean, they're experiencing it. Statistics show that only 50% of young people will do better than their parents financially. How about economic opportunities for young people?
Yeah, and that's back to that despair and that fear. We see it every day, not just for climate crisis, but also for economic reasons. Young people are worried about the future. And you're absolutely right. It's harder now for a young person to imagine a future where they can achieve even just the same things as their parents, let alone having a better life. Many young people can't get a place to live. Something that their parents were able to do really easily or struggled, but they were able to do. But now young people can't even struggle to achieve it. It's just not achievable.
And I think there's a sort of like wave of like hopelessness.
Oh, yeah.
That you just feel so hopeless that you're like, well, why am I even trying then?
Yeah, I remember that exact story. I was at a doorstep meeting a family, and I was speaking to the whole family. Kind of came out to have a chat. It was a mom and her 2 kids, her daughter and her son. And the mom mentioned how she was having a hard time keeping the house that they lived in. The bills were too expensive and it was hard. And the daughter said, "I've got a good job, but I live in the basement. So if my mom loses this home, I have nowhere to live." And then the son was still in school, and he said, "Well, my mom has a house, but she can't keep it. My sister has a good job, but she's going to lose the place that she lives in. What do I have to look forward to?" And that sense of like despair and kind of giving up. And I want to say to those young people, you're not feeling this by chance. It's a real reason, because society has been designed this way. Decisions have been made that have neglected building housing. Conservative and liberal governments have decided to not make it a priority. It's made it harder and harder. And so I want to change that. I want to change that, and I want young people to feel hopeful about the future. I want them to feel excited about the future. So to do that, one, I think there's a lot of pressure because of student debt. And so I want to, immediately waive all interest on student debt, day one of a new democratic government. Waive that. That'd be huge.
I feel like we're setting folks up, like students up for failure.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much massive debt, and then the first job they get, when they struggle for months and months to finally land that job, it's like not even close to enough to pay it off. And
So true.
there's also so much confusion about loans and where they come from, and like the accessibility to information about these loans puts us in a more grave state, because we don't know how they work and when the interest starts.
It's so true.
I think that's a really big issue.
Yeah, so we need to waive that, but we also need to go beyond that. I want to forgive loans for students so they don't have to feel crushed by that weight. I want to replace loans with grants, because why are we giving loans to students? We should give them grants. Yeah. And eventually, I mean, the goal should be to build a society where there's no barriers to education, where you go from kindergarten to career with no barriers. That means free tuition. I mean, I love to see that happen. Yeah. I want to build affordable housing. Our plan is to build 500,000 new affordable homes for young professionals, for young families, for seniors, for low and no income. I want to build more affordable places for people to live. I want to make sure we raise the minimum wage. I think it needs to be not just a minimum wage of $15 an hour, but at the federal level, we want to move from a minimum wage to a livable wage. Yeah, people should be able to live.
Sounds like, I mean, moving from minimal to livable, I mean, that just sounds like common sense to me.
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So I prepared a little thing. It's like not well edited. And, I'm a perfectionist.
You are.
But do you have anything else you want to share before I dive into the few words that I have?
No, I totally want to hear it. Oh, can I tell you one thing? So just one short story.
Oh,
that
God.
no, it's just about Rupi. So 2 things about Rupi. So I'm just
Sorry, mine is full of stories, so go for it.
2 quick stories. One is when Rupi first performed, I realized that she has a special ability that
He was the only one. Nobody else realizes.
No, I think many people did. But for performers in my life, no one has been able to move me to emotion as easily as Rupi has, and as frequently, almost on command. That's a power that Rupi has. And the second thing is, the book that I wrote, if it's at all good, one of the people that made it better is Rupi. Actually, she helped me out a lot with it, which meant a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, thank you. You've been, you know what? Let me just leave it at that, and let me just tell my story. Thank you so much for being so open. So I want to close off with my Jagmeet story. About 10 years ago, a series of events took place that changed the course of my life forever. I was 16 years old, and I lived in Brampton with my family, and one day I saw a flyer for a local open mic night. Against my better judgment, I showed up with a terribly written poem and performed it. And to my surprise, I was met with a lot of love. And it was the electrifying pulse of that response that kept me going back to these spaces. Who were these people, I thought, organizing such safe and welcoming spaces? There were about 10 of them. All of them were university students who gathered in the Greater Toronto area. And their mission was to spread awareness on anything from human rights abuses to gender inequality and racial inequality and the ways that we are making such a negative impact on the environment. I fell in love with their vision for a better world almost instantly and signed up as quickly as I could to become a volunteer at any events they were holding and would go on later to become a community organizer. These were the spaces where my artistry was born and led me here, where 10 years ago, the seeds of poet, performer, and author were first planted. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to go back to those volunteer days when it was all still very new to me, when it was like my first day on the job, when I was a fly on the wall and so deeply shy that I would basically walk with my head looking down at the ground and you wouldn't even hear a peep out of me. We were setting up for a concert and I was sweeping away the foyer. I remember I was second guessing why I even showed up at all. I mean, I didn't know anybody. Everyone else was like really cool and like a lot older than me, and I had no friends. And for the life of me, I couldn't even bring myself to engage. And just as I was finished sweeping and decided that I would leave early and never, ever, ever return to one of these things again, this young man walks into the building, dressed in a suit, big smile on his face, head held high. And I was like, okay, I wonder what his deal is. like rolling my eyes inside my head. And he must have honestly read my mind, because next thing I know, he's walking right past all of his friends, right past all of the cool kids I thought he should have been talking to. And there he is standing in front of me. And here I was thinking that I was invisible, and here he was saying hello. He asked what my name was, how I was doing. We had a long conversation, and in the end, he thanked me for all of my help and insisted that leaving would be very, very silly, and I should stick around for the rest of the evening. And so I did. And because of that, for the following years, I spent as much time as I possibly could building in community spaces that this young man helped to facilitate. That's what he does. Jagmeet Singh makes people feel seen. He made me feel seen and visible because he truly believes that we all deserve to be. That is his superpower. Wow. He isn't interested in the shiniest person in the room. He's interested in everybody, mostly the people that stand at the back, that roll up to the events alone and have nobody to talk to, the people who are quiet. He's interested in them. Whether you're the person in the fancy suit running the show or you're the person taking out the garbage after a long night of work, Jagmeet will see you. No matter what color, what age, what gender, or what class. I have been lucky enough to have his mentorship as I grew from teenager to woman. His belief in young people and new ideas has changed an entire generation where I grew up. In 2009, we were just a bunch of scrappy teenagers with absolutely no resources at all. None. But we had a lot of big ideas, a lot of big dreams to throw poetry nights and community gatherings and art exhibits. And whenever we failed to meet our fundraising goals, which was basically all of the time, this guy would just show up and quietly, our older brother, Jagmeet, would cover all of the costs, no matter how much of a dent it made in his wallet. Because he believed that we deserved to be invested in. And he never told anybody he did this. I would always be like, oh my God, this event was great. Wow, we must have raised a lot of money. And they were like, no, we didn't. It was all Jagmeet. Don't tell anyone. He doesn't want anybody to know. And I was like, that's mind-blowing. You know, he thought that we deserved to be invested in, that our voices mattered. He taught us about our rights and how to stay safe as young people of color, and so much more. A lot of people who've met Jagmeet over the years have asked me, was he always this charming, this engaged, and this interested? Or is it all just a political act? And I'm afraid, but really excited and really, really, really proud to tell them, no, it is not an act, people. It is so real. This has been him long before he ever even had the dream of diving into politics. Jagmeet Singh doesn't even know how to be anything other than real. No matter what that does to him. And today, Canadians see Jagmeet fighting for reconciliation, barrier-free education, climate change, just to name a few. But I've been lucky to see him fight for these things year after year as I was growing up in Brampton. Long before us scrappy teenagers could even conceive of the idea that we would see someone who looks like us running for the highest office in this country. And you know what? Not a single thing has changed. His politics haven't wavered. They have further cemented. And it gives me the deepest honor to sit here before you today and endorse my brother Jagmeet Singh as Canada's next Prime Minister. Thank you. I'm not done. Wow. Jagmeet, who knew we would be here so soon? It blows my mind every day. But I did know you were different. When you saw me that day 10 years ago, when most people wrote me off as a nobody, you came over to show me that I belonged and that I could do anything. That we are all connected. That when one rises, we all rise, and when one suffers, we all suffer. I knew from that day that you were going to change the world. And it fills my heart with so much joy and so much pride. And that's why I will be voting for you and urging all Canadians to vote for you, Jagmeet Singh, in this fall's federal election. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us all the opportunity to dream big. You being here gives me the permission to dream bigger. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to stand with you and fight for you and giving us this opportunity to witness history. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're so amazing. I'm going to hold it together.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow, I did not know that was going to happen. That was amazing. Thank you very much, Rupi. Once more to Rupi Kaur. And thank you so much, friends, for being here. Just stay tight. I would love to meet you all. But before we go any further, we're going to be taking some questions from the media. So just hang tight.
Hi, it's Annie with CTV. A new poll out today has you in a statistical tie for third with the Greens. How much of a threat do you think Elizabeth May is to your party's electoral success, especially here in BC, where both parties have a strong base of support?
Well, for me, the contrast is really clear, and I want folks to know that contrast. Ms. May has said that she would put Mr. Scheer into the Prime Minister's seat. I would never work with the Conservatives. She said that she's allowed anti-abortion candidates to run in her party. New Democrats are very clear that there is no debate on whether a woman has the right to choose. All of our candidates support that.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh, Jérôme Labbé, Radio-Canada. Vous passez beaucoup de temps en Colombie-Britannique et c'est tout à votre honneur. Mais je voulais savoir, est-ce que vous vous engagiez à visiter toutes les provinces canadiennes d'ici la fin de la campagne électorale?
Et c'est mon engagement d'être partout au Canada parce que j'adore ce pays. On a déjà fait beaucoup des provinces, mais on va continuer d'essayer d'être partout au Canada parce que je veux montrer aux Canadiens et Canadiennes que les néo-démocrates, on se bat pour vous. On ne travaille pas pour les plus riches, on travaille pour monsieur, madame, tout le monde.
Donc, juste une précision, pas nécessairement un arrêt à l'île du Prince-Édouard en Alberta et dans chaque province.
On va essayer, c'est une élection, c'est difficile de préviser tout ce qui va passer, mais mon engagement, c'est d'être aussi que possible, d'être partout au Canada.
My CBC colleagues want the same answer in English, please.
Yes, of course. I'm really honored to be able to spend time here in BC. I feel like BC often gets neglected and ignored, and I want the people of BC to know that with a leader that comes from BC now, you're not going to be ignored, you're not going to be forgotten, and your issues are going to be front and center. The question was around whether I'd be able to visit all provinces. I love this country. I want it to be even better, and I know there's a lot of challenges that we're faced with, and I want to do my best to get across as many places as possible so that people know that New Democrats, we don't work for the rich, we don't work for the people at the very top, we work for all of you.
Camille Baines from the Canadian Press. I'd like to know about the ferry funding that you proposed this morning.
Yes.
What about other provinces like Quebec who also have ferry systems? What would you propose for them?
Yeah, so today we rounded off our tour of Vancouver Island, where we talked about protecting the coastline, investing in housing, and then we finished off with investments for the BC Ferry. There's an agreement since 1977 between Canada and BC, and that agreement to fund the ferry hasn't been renegotiated since a long time. And so we want to increase that funding because we know how important the ferry system is. It's a way to connect a lot of people. We'll be rolling out the rest of our plans for transit and transportation across Canada, but this is our focus on this announcement.
Are you going to announce anything in particular for ferries elsewhere though, like in Quebec?
Yeah, so we'll be rolling out our plan for the other parts of Canada as the campaign continues, but we're here in BC, so we thought we'd focus in on our plan for BC so people know that we've got a specific approach to dealing with the challenges that uniquely are faced by the people in this area.
Just one more question. Of the 30 million that you proposed, what would you want it to go toward? Is it infrastructure or is it new routes or what would you want it for?
So it would be a combination of things to help lower the cost. The costs are quite high. I was giving an example. If you're for two people and a car coming in from Victoria, it's $90. It's quite costly. It's pretty prohibitive for some people to be able to do that regularly. So we want to lower the costs. We want to increase service. We want to provide that funding so we can make it easier for people to get around.
Hi, Jagmeet Singh ji. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh. ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ
I'll just say a quick thing in English. I think it's great that you're asking in Punjabi because I can show that I speak English, French, and Punjabi, so it's good.
Thank you. ਮੈਂ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਲੜਕੀ 16 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਲੜਕੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵਰਲਡ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਮਜ਼ਾਕ ਉਡਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਅਵੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ এনवायरमेंट ਲਈ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ
ਜੀ
ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਹੋਣੇ ਹੋ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਫਲ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ
ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਬਚਪਨ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੋਨੇ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਨੈਕਟਡ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਨਾਲ ਕੁਝ ਮਾੜਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਮਾੜਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਹੂਲਤਾਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵਰਤਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਰਾਖੀ ਕਰੀਏ ਸੋ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਵੀ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਹ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਤੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਦੋਨੇ ਬਿਲੀਅਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੌਲਤ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇਲ ਵਾਲੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਦਿਨ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਬਿਲੀਅਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਲਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰੀਨਿਊਏਬਲ ਕਲੀਨ ਸਾਫ਼ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਨਵੈਸਟ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਘਰ ਹੈਗੇ, ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਊਟਪੁੱਟ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਧੂੰਆਂ ਨਿਕਲਦੇ ਉਹ ਘੱਟ ਹੋਵੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰਿਕ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਧੂੰਆਂ ਘੱਟ ਜਾਵੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਖ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਖ ਮਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਵਾਂਗੇ। Okay. I just got the thumbs up that we're done for today. So thank you, everybody. It was an honor to have you all. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you. Thank you.